Time for a brand new episode of Gimme the Hot Sauce. Stacey King is on the road. He's joining us from his hotel room in beautiful San Francisco, California. Stacey, I know you were playing hurt earlier in the week. Everybody's wondering, first of all, how you feeling?
You know, I'm battling a sinus infection, Mark.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody really cares about that. I'm a trooper. I'm like the UPS man, baby. I deliver in all weather conditions, baby.
And right alongside me is Timmy Whispers with his bright blue shirt. And Stacey, a lot of people think that Whispers is just this guy that says weird stuff on the podcast, but he's kind of a business tycoon. He was at a trade show, and you tell me that you're wheeling and dealing everything over there.
Swaying and swagging, and I'll leave that last part off, but...
Oh, my God.
He thinks he's Walt Frazier over here, Stacey.
You know what?
Sliding and gliding.
You need to take that tight shirt off, first of all, okay? It's metallic blue. You know, if we turn the lights off, we'll still be able to see his shirt.
Yeah, well, you put it under a sport coat. You look pretty good.
No, I got to see it. I got to see it there, Whispers. I got to see it.
And Stacey, you got a chance to run into Thunder Dan Marley, and he was even redder than Whispers last night.
I called him Larry the Lobster too. He was here's Terry the Lobster. That was his name. They had both. He looked just like Tim, but he might have been a little bit more crispier than Tim. Yeah,
that's what happens out there. Yeah, I know the feeling.
Man, yeah, he was. Yeah, at least Timmy Whispers goes away after about a week. I think Dan's is permanently on. He's gonna look like that the rest of his life.
What's Thunder Dan up to these days? I know he was coaching at Grand Canyon State or something like that.
Yeah, he was at Grand Canyon. Yeah, he's just playing a lot of golf. He's big in the community, got restaurants and stuff like that. And just having to enjoy life. He's a legend down there in Phoenix, man.
And we like the photo of you and Tank Scott Williams. You got a chance to run into. How's Tank doing?
Yeah, Tank's doing good. I talked to him right before when I was doing the Open.
Yeah,
and so afterwards, we were talking, and so we took a picture. Tank's got to play both sides of the fence because he played for the Suns and he played for the Bulls.
Right.
So we're ready to take a picture, and he has a Phoenix Suns cap on. I had to slap it off. So take that shit off. You're not taking that picture with me in here. Bulls, buddy. You're Bulls. And so he had his little Bulls ring, his 91 championship ring. That looks like, compared to all the rings now, those rings look like something that came out of a Cracker Jack box.
Oh yeah. Now they look like coffee tables.
Oh man, they're so big and gaudy.
Yeah.
And we thought ours was big and good.
Yeah.
But man, you see it when you see like the 91 version compared to what has been over the last 10, 12 years. Oh my goodness, it's a huge difference.
Well, you got a chance to see the Phoenix Suns up close and personal, and Devin Booker certainly put himself right in the middle of the MVP discussion. We're at the quarter pole of the NBA season. We got about 20 games in, and I tell you what, Devin Booker, he made some tough shots, and he just was not going to miss last night.
Well, I tell you what, I was telling Adam last night, it was kind of like watching Kobe Bryant. This guy was so efficient in his scoring. He took, 25 shots, 31 if you count free throws. Won fourth best total in history, the least amount of getting to 50. Everything looked easy. I think the first 3 or 4 minutes, Mark, he was just playing. He was letting everybody else get off. He wasn't even trying to score. And then all of a sudden, if you notice at the end of quarters, I liken it to a boxing match when you're at the end of a round and they hit that little drum to let the fighters know the end of the round is coming. And then you'll see one fighter hear that and then try to make a flurry of punches and then try to sway the judges' decision. That's kind of like what he did last night. After the end of every quarter, he just turned it on. He scored 7-8 points at the end of a quarter. One time he had 11 points in 17 seconds or something. It was crazy.
So how good do you think Phoenix is? Obviously, a couple of years ago, they went to the finals, lost to Milwaukee in 6 games, and then they got knocked out in that ugly game against Dallas. Do you think Phoenix has what it takes to win a championship, or do they have to make another move to strengthen that front line?
I think they're going to have to strengthen the front line. Crowder's not playing. Crowder, they're trying to move him for whatever reason, I don't know. And I even said this last night. It's very surprising that, they were trying to move DeAndre Ayton in the summer.
Yeah.
Kid's 24 years old, probably, he's on that second tier of big men, creeping to the first tier. He looked like a first tier center last night against us. So, and you kind of lose the fact because his face looks like he's 40, but his body is 24. He looks old. It looks old in the face.
It's a Greg Oden syndrome,
Yeah, Sean Kemp, Greg Oden, they
Yeah,
got those old faces.
yeah,
They look a lot older than what they are, but the kid can score, he can rebound, he can pass the ball. He's a very, very good player, and he's only 24 years old. He's been to a finals. I think the key for them is to get some depth at that forward position because they were very small last night,
yeah.
pretty much most of the game. And without Crowder being there to play that 3 and 4 position, they're real small. And they brought in the kid from Australia to come in and play some minutes for Ayton when he was when he's out.
Yeah.
But that's good. That's good for them when you got a big lead. You can play that kid. But when you're playing a tough game, you got to play against Jokic and he gets Ayton in foul trouble. Where do you go to? You don't really have a lot of options. They got to figure out what they're going to do there.
Yeah, last year they had JaVale McGee and Bismack Biyombo, so they were deep at the center position. This year, not so much.
They still got Biyombo, but I mean he's not. To me, he didn't make a difference last night when he played.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about it from the Bulls' perspective. Obviously, that was an ugly game. They had a good win in Utah on Monday night. Where do things stand right now? I mean, obviously we saw the one scene where Billy called a timeout and he was yelling at Io because he didn't make the right defensive rotation. Are they starting to feel the stress of the fact that they're under 500 right now, Stacey?
I don't know. Listen, I don't know if that's the problem, Mark. What I do see on a consistent basis, they don't compete defensively. And when you don't compete defensively and you continue to give up easy baskets and teams continue to shoot over 55% from the field against you, they're getting whatever they want. Whether if they want layups, they got it. If we want to get open threes, we got it. The Bulls have to come out every night and have it in their mindset like they did against Milwaukee and did against Boston, where they're going to compete for 48 minutes. We're going to get after you for 48 minutes, and we're not going to stop. What you see with this team is against these other teams, they'll play a quarter hard when they're down 20. They'll play hard defensively to get back in the game or at least make it respectable. And then, but that, as you know, Mark, you have to expend that much energy. You got nothing left in the gas tank. So, and you wonder, say, well, why would you come out with that same intensity when the jump ball? Why would you wait till you get down 18-20 third quarter? You decide to play. You decide to play with a sense of urgency. And until they recognize it's the defense that's the problem, not so much the offense. Everybody wants to keep talking about the offense, the one-on-one and all that stuff. Listen, that's not the problem. They can score with anybody, okay? I'd like to see them get more assists. I'd like to see them, implement some more players. I like to see Vooch score more in the post. I don't know if we'll ever see that. So we're just going to have to accept until Lonzo Ball comes back that this team is going to, offensively is going to be the same team they are every night. So then where do you go? What do you do to go about making some changes? You make it defensively. You start putting in some defensive schemes, trapping a little bit. The rotations are always slow. Like guys are always on the backside, not where they're supposed to be. And that causes breakdowns defensively.
Got some news before the game last night about Lonzo Ball from Billy Donovan, and it was not encouraging at all. He said he's still feeling pain in that surgically repaired knee, and he said he's nowhere close to even getting out on the court and running and cutting. I know you're not a doctor, Stacey, but you've seen a lot of these situations in the NBA. Does that set off alarm bells in your head with some of the things that Billy was saying last night?
Yeah, it's a little alarming because, when you looked at going into this last surgery, it sounded so optimistic that, it was nerve damage. They got the bone spurt. It was sitting on a nerve. And so that was the problem. And so you're like, okay, great. Now we understood what it was, why he was having so much pain. Now we addressed that issue. Now it's just about healing up, getting stronger, and then hopefully get this kid back by December. Now you're looking at 2023 at some point, and that's really no timetable. So I just feel like, they're going to have to play these games like he's not coming back.
Right.
I mean, seriously, I know Bulls fans don't want to hear that. But until he walks out on that court, you're going to have to play these games without him. And you can't continue to have games like you did against Phoenix last night. You can't lose games against Orlando, Oklahoma City. You've got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat, start, packing some of these games away, because you're going to find yourself in a situation at the end. You're going to wish that you had won those games when it comes down to the very end.
Yeah, now things don't get any easier for the Bulls. They play the Golden State Warriors on Friday night. Golden State coming off a loss to Dallas, but they've been playing much better lately, 8-4 in their last 12 games. And when you get those guys at home, Steph Curry starts making a couple of shots, the crowd goes nuts. That's a tough environment to win. What are the Bulls going to have to do to keep this game competitive on Friday night?
Well, stay connected to the shooters. And you also got to remember, Mark, even though they're struggling and they're currently sitting eighth in the West, they're 2-10 on the road, which is hard to believe because at home they're 9-1 and they're outscoring teams in their arena by about 24 points a night. So they're almost unbeatable at home. So it's amazing to see that they're struggling as much as they're doing on the road because they play the same style on the road as they do at home. But the problem with Golden State is their bench. Their bench has not been as fluid as they'd like. They're going to have to start staggering starters minutes, playing with some of those. Instead of bringing 5 guys out and bringing 5 new young kids in, they're going to have to keep, Steph Curry out there. They're going to have to keep Klay Thompson, some other guys out there, Draymond Green maybe, to offset, give them some leadership in that second group until they can get it right. But tomorrow, the key for the Bulls is to get off to a good start and stay connected to shooters. That's been a big problem. They've been facing 3-point shooting teams. You're losing, you're not paying attention to where the shooters are. You're not seeing them move when the ball is shifted. So if you lose Steph Curry, that's 30, 40 points. You lose Klay Thompson, he's capable of scoring 40. You lose Jordan Poole, those guys are capable of scoring 30, 40 points. And they have to be cognizant of that tomorrow.
Yeah, and Jonathan Kuminga, who's been struggling this year, had what Steve Kerr called his best game as Golden State Warrior in that loss to Dallas. So he may be more of a factor off the bench. Whispers, you're just sitting there. You got a question for Stacey? Anything you're wondering about Stacey on the road?
I can't ask it here.
Oh, my God.
You got a microphone in front of you. This is the perfect place to ask a question.
Whispers.
How is it out there on the road?
Oh, that's a great question.
He knows what I'm talking about. How is it?
Well, let me tell you, Tim, it's been an exciting time, going to all these places and seeing all these fun people. I'm running into a lot of friends. Yesterday in Phoenix was nice. It was 72 degrees. We stayed at the Biltmore Hotel, which is like staying on a huge compound, a Kennedy compound. Like it's huge. Like you literally have to call the Uber to come to your room to take you to the front desk. That's how big it was. Really awesome place. Here it is in San Francisco. I thought it was going to be like sun and, 60s or whatever. It's like rainy and cold, gloomy, depressing.
Yeah.
Depressing. But it's still, listen, it's no fun being on the road to travel this because this is 17 years for me. I've seen everything 100 times, so it gets old after a while. And plus, I'm sick on this trip. That also sucks when you're sick on the trip. I got a sinus infection, so I'm constantly trying to, stay, eat a lot of soup, keep hydrated, and I'm being captive in my room. But it doesn't hurt to be in a 5-star hotel.
Yeah, I heard you and Will on the crossover yesterday talking about your experiences in Phoenix in the past. Were those some great days back in the championship days?
Yeah. Hey, I tell you, I could write a book right now, baby. It was like we were like a rock band, baby. Oh, Lord, baby, I was part of a rock band, baby, a revolution. I can tell you stories right now.
There was no cell phone cameras, Mark.
Yeah, well, go ahead, tell us the story. Hey, there's no censorship here on the podcast. Tell us the story.
Oh man, Mark, I gotta keep a happy home, man. I forgot I'm single now.
That's right.
I can say whatever I want.
You can say whatever you
say
want.
whatever I want, baby.
Well, there is one up there.
No,
There's an old story up in San Fran where he's at now, just down the street.
Is that right?
Hey, what's the story? What's the story, Tim?
Mitchell Brothers. Didn't someone get something in their eye?
Oh, come on now. Oh, okay. No, I can't really say that. Okay, listen. Back in the day, Mark, we like to visit gentlemen's clubs back in the day when we were, so we go to gentlemen's club and we'd have some lemon pepper wings. The players still do it to this day.
Yeah,
so
Lou Williams. Yeah.
It's been a tradition throughout the NBA, the gentlemen's club. So we go to this place called Mitchell Brothers, which I had never been there before. I was like 24 years old. I didn't know what it was. It was not your typical gentlemen's club. It was, matter of fact, it was like something out of a horror movie. It's like it's so dark you can't see anything. It's like dark and like there's so many different things. Like a movie theater in there. So the people who made Mitchell Brothers, Tim will tell you, the people who made Mitchell Brothers were like porn directors. They were like the big pioneers of porn. That's how Tim knows all this.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they were the big industry of porn. So they opened up this club called Mitchell Brothers. That's where they had the Maryland Chambers. They did movies there at this place. What is it, Deep Throat, Tim? Well, you know that.
That wasn't there, but you're on the right track.
Yeah. So anyway, Mark, it was one of the best gentlemen's club I've ever been in my life. Seriously, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And
okay, so we're at a table. We're at a table. This is a clean story. So we're at a table, and it's like one of those Benihana tables when you go in. They cook
huge
the food
round velvet tables.
Yeah.
Huge round table. Okay, so you know these girls come out, and they're in a shower curtain silhouette, and they're dancing. Dude, you remember the Rush Hour scene where they were in the massage parlor? And Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, they were picking the girls, and they asked Chris Tucker, well, who do you want? And he goes, I'll take her, and I'll take her. Well, it's very similar to that scene. If you remember that movie, it's very similar to that scene. So you pick the person you want to come over here and, dance for you. And so, I'm not going to divulge my teammates, but we had about 7 of them over there. So we picked these people up, boom, boom, boom. They come over, there's 3 girls. And so they do whatever you want based on how much money you want to spend. So if you're cheap, you're just going to get just a regular dance. You're just going to dance and then get off the table and leave. But the more money you put on, the more creative they get. So you can only imagine in your mind how creative they could get if you put big money down. So we had Corey Williams, who was a rookie at the time.
Yeah.
And he was all excited. He'd never been in there, he's a kid from Georgia. Country boy from Georgia. This is the first time he's in there. He didn't want to go because he didn't have any money because he wasn't getting paid like the rest of us were. So we no, we're going to take you out. You're our rookie. We're going to take you out. You're going to have a good time. So we take Corey out there. He's all excited. He's like a dog. He's like, I mean, it's like, all right, calm down, big fella. Calm down. Act like you've been here before. So the girls. So we tell these girls hey, he's a rookie, young kid. Just do something special for him. So we give him extra money. Boom, boom, boom. So they're doing some stuff, right? And so they have oil. They have this oil, and they're like bathing each other, and lathering each other up in oil. So one of our teammates said, we call him Pee Wee. He's like, Pee Wee, go down there and look and see what they're doing. And he literally goes down and he slides underneath them, and he's looking at the oil, and some oil came through off the girl from their crack and got him right in the eye. And he's like, oh. He got pink eye right then and there. I didn't know what pink eye was. I never seen it activate so quickly. It was almost like he got acid in his eye.
Oh, man.
His eye automatically swole up. It was the craziest thing. And he's like, I can't see. We're like, hey, do we need to take you back to the hotel? No, I'm good. I'm staying here.
I still got one good eye.
Yeah, he did not want to leave even with a swollen eye. It was the craziest thing.
The dangers of life on the road.
See, you knew a story would come out.
There you go.
That's PG rated too, America.
Use
your mind.
Time for us to make a big segue and bring in one of our sponsors. I'm sure that Jeff Vukovich is happy to be brought in right after that story. But
hey, did I tell y'all? Did
you see him?
Yeah. He was there. He was at the game. He came out to the game. He wanted us to go to lunch. I couldn't go to lunch.
He didn't get pink eye, did he?
No, he didn't get pink eye. But he was red as whiskers.
Was that right?
He been in the sun. Oh my God!
He left me a nice message saying he was going to meet with Stacey.
Hey,
okay.
Yeah. Hey, listen. He'd been playing golf, and Jeff was looking like Oompa Loompa out there. He was all orange. I'm like, damn. And he was out in the sun. And so we talked to him at the game, man. It was great seeing him. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Did you know he coached Jerry Hairston?
No, I didn't know
played
that.
for the Cubs.
Yeah.
Because Jerry's from Naperville. I met Jerry last night. Jerry was at the game. And then he's a big fan of me and Adam. So he was at the game. He was a guest with Vooch. And Vooch coached him on his baseball team, his Legion team.
Wow.
And Jerry told me the story about that last night, how how he went to approach Vooch about playing because he knew Vooch was playing with older kids and he wanted to play with them.
Yeah.
And Vooch said he didn't have any space for a kid that graduated from high school already. He was thinking the young kids. And so he told Jerry Harrison, said, I'll be the best player you ever had. And so Vooch took him up on it. And then boom, next thing you know, Jerry Harrison was the best player he had. He ends up being in the pros.
Future major leaguer. That's crazy.
Yeah. I met his son too. His son was there, looked just like him. Looked just like gave some bottles of hot sauce.
Wow.
So yeah.
Everybody wins.
I travel with the hot sauce. Everybody won, babe. Everybody wins, babe.
Well, we do want to tell you about Jeff's main gig when it comes to insurance for your auto, home, and business. Make sure you contact the king of insurance. That's nationwide agent Jeff Vukovich. If you're watching on YouTube, can you see him on the screen? We got the ad for him. There you go. You can also reach him at jeffvuk.com. That's jeffvuk.com. He'll take care of all your auto, home, and business needs. Stacey, do you feel up to singing the jingle today?
Nationwide is on your side.
All right, nice. Even Illy comes through. You know,
he's a true pro.
There you go. Hey, let's talk a little NBA before we bring in our special guest. We're going to talk to Chris Miller. He's the play-by-play voice of the Washington Wizards. They're off to a nice start at 11-11. With some other teams, Stacey, they're doing well. Sacramento Kings, who the Bulls will see on Sunday, they're off to a good start. They've made some good personnel moves. You know, the trade for Sabonis for Halliburton has worked out well for both squads. They got Keegan Murray in the draft, and it looks like that team is doing some good things in the West.
Yeah, they're going to be tough. They're 7-4 at home, Mark. They got a lot of good young talent. Mike Brown is a good coach. He's got them playing up tempo. Sabonis is like really giving them that post presence. I think a lot of people were scratching their heads when they gave up Halliburton.
Yeah,
but it's worked out for both teams. I mean, both those teams right now, if the playoffs start today, they'd both be in comfortably. So I don't know how it's going to be in a few weeks. But the way it looks right now, I'm like, Sacramento's legit.
Yeah, we saw the Pacers. They came back from a 17-point deficit to beat the Lakers the other day on a shot at the buzzer. And as you mentioned, the Pacers, I think they're fourth in the East right now. The stat about Halliburton is crazy. His last 3 or 4 games, he's got 40 assists and 0 turnovers. I mean, this kid is something. I mean, that's a guy that I know the Bulls consider drafting him, and I'm sure they wish they had him right now.
Well, I mean, you know what? I mean, everybody knew what kind of player he was coming out of, college. So it's not a surprise that he is having the career that he's having. I mean, he did really well in Sacramento. And, Sacramento drafted, 3 guards, bam, 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 so, and they get, to me, I mean, to get what you had to get for Sabonis, it was a great trade. I would have tried to move some other pieces before I would have tried to move him, but I think in their thought process with De'Aaron Fox being a point guard, I don't think they were comfortable having both those guys on the floor because they both need the ball in their hands. And the other one, trying to move the other one to the scoring guard, they don't really have the size. So that was your dilemma. And then, they had drafted a kid from Baylor the year before Halliburton got there. So the little guard, God, I forgot his name.
De'Aaron Fox?
No. The guard from Baylor that won the national championship.
Oh, Davion Mitchell.
Davion Mitchell. Yes, Mitchell. And they decided to keep him over Halliburton.
Yeah, that's a
really
mistake.
Surprising. Yeah, it was really surprising because Mitchell's not a bad player. He's not a point guard. He's a scoring guard in a point guard's body, and he's a hell of a defensive player. So they figured, well, you know what? Then we can play him at the 2, and even though he doesn't have the size, but he's got the toughness and he defends. So we can get away with him and De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox could take the bigger guard, and then he could take the point guard when they want to go on defense.
We'll talk a little bit about the MVP race and other NBA topics with our special guest, Chris Miller, who's going to join us next. Episode 109 of Gimme the Hot Sauce rolls on. Now it's my pleasure to welcome in our special guest. He is Chris Miller. He's the play-by-play voice of the Washington Wizards. I got a chance to know Chris when the Bulls played the Wizards in the 2014 playoffs. We were traveling back and forth and doing some special pregame coverage. Chris is one of the great dudes in this business, and I'm really happy to get a chance to reconnect today. This is your first year doing play-by-play. Tell us a story about how that all evolved, because you've done everything. You've done pre and post, sidelines. How did you get the shot to do play-by-play?
Yeah, so first of all, it's an honor to be on this show with you guys, especially my man Stacey King, who I was a huge fan of during those great Chicago Bulls runs. So it's an honor to be on here with you guys. Like you said, Mark, I did a little bit of everything. I've been with NBC Sports Washington, Comcast Sportsnet, all these different names, right? This is my 16th season, and I've hosted pre and post, sideline, did all that, and back in 2018, at the time, Steve Buckhantz had a medical procedure, and we were in Toronto, and I got asked if I could fill in for him, and they were like, "We know you've never really done it, but would you like to do it?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, sign me up. Let's go." You guys are going to have to deal with a neophyte out there, but I know the team. We had covered Toronto in the playoffs before, so I was pretty familiar with both teams, and I did it. They were like, "You sure you've never done this before?" I was like, "Man, the last time I did play-by-play was in college at Indiana State. That was a long time ago." Fast forward to last year, and as you guys know, with COVID and everything, I filled in, did about 8 games, and felt real good about it. As you guys know, the game in the NBA is so fast. I found myself trying to be a radio guy on TV. So I said, let me be a little more judicious with my words, because you don't have to describe everything you see, because we can see it. One thing leads to another, and I got called in the off season, and I actually auditioned for it the time before after Buck left, and I didn't get it. I was a finalist. Clearly, I was disappointed, but I just didn't feel like it was my time, and it kind of just took me a couple of years to kind of get over myself, to think, you know what, let me see if I could do it again. And when the opportunity came up this time, they called me and said, "Ball's yours."
That's great.
And the first thing I did is I cried, because as you guys know, dream jobs don't come along very often. And I just kind of look back at my journey and like, wow, 16 years of covering this team, and now I get the opportunity to be the television voice. Not a lot of people get those opportunities. So, Mark, to kind of answer your question in long form, that's how I kind of got this opportunity, and I'm making the most of it. I'm calling games with one of my closest friends in Drew Gooden, which makes it not a job, Mark. You know how it is when you're working with somebody that you not only do you really respect in the business, but like one of your best friends. That's doesn't make it a job anymore.
Stacey, that sounds familiar. That's like me working with you. I got a chance to do a couple of games with Stacey, filling in for Adam when they were searching for Neil Funk's replacement. I've done 4 games so far, and the first time I had the same experience. I was going a million miles an hour trying to call every play, and Stacey, the first time out, goes, "Take it easy. You don't have to be talking that much." and like you said, working with a friend, boy, does that make it a lot easier. And I'm eternally grateful to Stacey for helping me get a little bit better in what I'm doing.
And you know what's interesting about that too, and Stacey, I don't know if you got this sense too, when you have to have an uncomfortable conversation with a friend, it's much easier than talking to somebody you don't like, right? Like if I think we're in our 21st or 22nd game, I just kind of look over sometimes and I'm like, how am I doing? I tell Drew, like, what do you need? How do you want me to set you up? And it's easier when you kind of just look over and you see like your brother, and you're just like, we argue all the time, but we have fun out there. And Stacey, you are somebody that I really enjoy, because it's really authentic. When a guy dunks on somebody or a crossover, that's authentic, and it's unapologetically you. And I kind of stole that from you when I call games now. It's like, I won't be me. I'm not going to try to be the next man. I'm going to be Chris.
Exactly. I think, when I first started, Chris, it's funny because, they were like, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't say that, you can't say that. And I'm like, basically, you can't have a personality. And I'm like, right. Well, this job ain't for me then, because this is who I am. And if you knew me as a player, you knew this was going to transcend into the job that I'm doing now. And I think I created a lane for myself, because I look at other people like my favorite people I used to like watching. Like I loved Dick Vitale when I was in college. Dick Vitale, his passion, his energy. I would like to do that if I was ever to do that. Kevin Harlan, Doug Collins is like by far, in my opinion, like the best analyst, NBA analyst ever. Steve Kerr was really good too. So I watch these guys, and then I put my own twist on things, because at the end of the day, Chris, you got to be yourself.
Yep.
You can't be everybody else. You can use those guys as references, but at the end of the day, you got to create a lane that's for you, and then your fan base will gravitate to that, and they'll go, "Hey, I like his style. I like how he does things," because we're all different.
Right. And the one thing that I've noticed now too is everybody has an opinion, right? And
Yeah.
I really don't get kind of subscribed to the comment. I'll read them. My wife gets more mad than I do, but you can't please everybody, right? But the one thing that
No.
I do know is if I was trying to be somebody else, then it wouldn't be me. So I've got to be me. I'm just different than anybody else that's ever done it for the Washington Wizards. In fact, I'm the only black play-by-play announcer ever in Washington, D.C. for the 4 major professional sports.
Wow.
So when
Oh,
you
wow.
think about that, I'm just different, right? It's a different cadence. It's a different experience. So that part of it is really fun every night, being a part of really history.
Hey, let's talk a little basketball. The Wizards off to a nice start. Kristaps Porzingis had a huge game the other night. I believe he had like 41 points. He's finally healthy. He's playing at the center position where he probably should have been his whole career, but for a different set of circumstances, people tried to make a power forward out of him. But Bradley Beal's healthy. Kyle Kuzma's playing great basketball. What do you think about the start, and is there sustainability there?
So the Wizards, I think they're one of 3 teams that have 3 20-point scorers on their roster right now, which is very unique. You talked about Porzingis, who's extremely unique. We just came off of a game against Brooklyn where he had a career-high 19 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
So he followed up his 41-point game the night before in Minnesota, which was a career high, to then get 19 rebounds. So he is really dialed in right now. Like you said, Mark, I agree with you. He should have probably always been playing the 5.
Yeah.
He hunts matchup problems, and I think everybody's a matchup problem. Even last night, Kevin Durant, who's another unique player, couldn't stop him. I mean, he's literally shooting over Kevin Durant. And how many times, Stacey, have we always said, if Kevin Durant squares up and shoots a jump shot, most people are contesting at his elbow. Like it's him in the rim. There's no hand in his face. And Porzingis is another level to that because being 7'3", and when he shoots, nobody is contesting his shot. So he's playing at a really high level. Kyle Kuzma has been a real find, especially last year with his rebounding. And something he's doing different this year, guys, is he can get the ball off the rim and initiate offense. If it's going just downhill, trying to get a layup, or some drive and kick action. And it's a problem for the opposition because even though Monte Morris is our quote unquote point guard, anybody can kind of get it off the rim and go.
Yeah, your team is intriguing because it all starts and ends with Bradley Beal for me. When he's healthy, he is just like we saw Booker last night. Those guys are unique with what they do in their skill set. He can come off screens. He can get his shot anytime he wants. He does a good job of trying to make his teammates better, and he can defend. He's a two-way player. So, what do you feel has his season has gone so far? Is he healthy? Because he looks healthy to me.
Yeah, good question. I think he's as healthy as he's supposed to be at 21 games into a season, States. He's dealing with a little bit of a hip issue. He hit the back of the stanchion the other night, and we were like, uh-oh, here we go. But he stayed in the game. For me, when I'm looking at him now, I think this is the most offensively gifted team he's played on in the league because of Porzingis, because of Kuzma. Hachimura has been out, I think, the last 5 games, but he's really been playing well off the bench. But offensively, this might be the best team. So I don't feel like Brad has to go out there and be a 30-point scorer like he did for, back-to-back years. But I think he's still trying to find his way with this team because it's just so different for him, Stacey. It's like, oh, I don't have to go get 40 tonight. Oh, okay, I can get 22 to 25, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and we can still win. So the one thing that I have noticed, though, here recently is you look at his shot chart, it's predictable. A lot of his stuff is in the middle of the floor, Stacey. And defensive teams, I think when they look at that, if I noticed it, if this knucklehead can notice that, other teams, I'm sure, is going to notice that. If you look at his shot chart, a lot of his stuff is in the middle of the floor. I'd like him to move around a little more, get a little more diversity in his action, coming off pin downs, maybe some floppies, things like that, where now all of a sudden you can't really key on him at the top of the key. You got to be like, well, hell, he's on the baseline over here. Then the next time he's on the left side. I mean, he could even take his offense, I think, to another level if there's just a little more creation in terms of where he gets his shots off.
Well, that's funny you say that, because watching Devin Booker last night, that's one of the things that I noticed about him is that, he used to get the ball from bringing the ball down before they got Chris Paul, and he would attack from the top. Now, with Chris Paul has made him a more of an efficient scorer. He now playing with Chris Paul the last couple of years, he realizes now, like, I can get shots, from the corner, from mid-wing, post. I don't have to just get the ball at the top of the circle, try to ISO and beat my man off the dribble. And what makes him so dangerous, we saw last night, is that he's got a mid-range game plus a three-point game, plus he can put the ball on the floor and get to the rim. He's got 3 levels of scoring, which I didn't know he had, because we don't see him all the time. We see him twice a year. But last night, I saw him last night. I swear to God, if he'd have took off a mask, it would have been Kobe. Like, that's what he looked like. Seriously, it looked like Kobe Bryant. And he's worked with Kobe. He's idolized Kobe. DeMar DeRozan is a Kobe disciple. They both have similar games. The difference between DeMar and Booker is more, he's got more outside. Like, he can actually stay off the 3-point line and get his shots off, where DeMar is strictly, I'm going to the mid-range. You can't stop me. I'm going to get my points right here. That's the difference.
Hey, Chris, I want to ask you about some of the draft picks Washington's made. Here in Chicago, people have lambasted the way the front office is operated. We went from trying to rebuild with Lowry Markkanen, Wendell Carter Jr., Kobe White, now Patrick Williams, and you've seen a similar kind of thing, with guys like Denny Avdia, Corey Kispert, Hachimura you mentioned. How are those guys being received by the fan base, and are they starting to get a little bit impatient that maybe they haven't emerged as the top flight players that the front office was hoping to add?
Well, as you guys know, when you're drafting in the top 10, you're expecting these kids to deliver first game year one, which is just not fair, right? But when you're getting into your second and your third year, where you're now talking about rookie contract extensions, now people want to be like, okay, listen, we've seen 3 years of you. What are you bringing to the table?
Yeah.
And of all the names that you guys have kind of mentioned, the one that is really, I think, elevated this year because of his availability has been Denny Avdia. I think he has played in 101 or 102 consecutive games. And he's starting to get a little more aggressive, Stacey, where he gets the ball. He's 6'9", and he's going downhill. When he first came into the league, they kept talking about him being a secondary playmaker. Man, forget that. You're 6'9", and you got a body where you can get into the paint. Go dunk the basketball. So I think there's some improvement there. Rui has missed time, obviously, last year. This year, he's missed some time. He didn't get that rookie extension. So now, the light's shining on him. Like, what's the plan for him moving forward? Corey Kispert, I think, is a young man that shoots the blood out of the basketball. A couple of days ago, I think he was in the 50-40-90 club, and he's a really good reserve player. I think he's getting better, but there's Stacey, as you know, if you can shoot it, they're going to find some shots for you, right? In this league, they're going to call a couple plays for you.
Exactly.
One that's really kind of like the head scratcher for me is Johnny Davis. Now, this is his rookie year out of Wisconsin, Big Ten Player of the Year. He was drafted 10th, and we rarely see him. He's back in the G League, getting some time there. And I think it's a confidence thing with him, guys. I just felt like when he came into the league, it was just too fast for him. It was just a different. You guys know, you're in Big Ten country. That style of play is very plodding, half court. And then he went to Wisconsin. So it's like first to 54 wins. Right?
That's right.
So I think for him trying to get acclimated to this NBA open court, open spacing, athleticism, he's getting adjusted to that. But I think the fan base is probably where Chicago Bull fans are when you're talking about young players, is they want to see more. They want to get the Victor Wembanyama's every year, right? And it's just not realistic. I mean, it's just very hard. Those are generational type players. And I feel like development, Mark, needs to be something that I think needs to be addressed. It's one thing to draft a kid. It's another thing to develop that kid and develop him into your system where it works for him and it works for the team.
I agree 100%. I've said that all along. I mean, look at some of the guys that we've lost that are playing so much better for other teams. Lowry looks like a world beater in Utah.
Totally different players.
Okay,
yeah.
Wendell Carter Jr. in Orlando is the same way, playing really well for them. You guys got Daniel Gafford. These are 3 guys that we could use right now in our roster right now, and they're playing better, on someone else's team. And I honestly believe that player development in this league, I think a lot of teams give up on kids too quickly because they don't want to develop them. They want you to come in ready to go from day one. And the league is getting younger and younger. Kids are coming in at 19 years old, 20. They didn't play a lot of college ball, so they didn't get really developed there. So
Stacey, and here's the thing, Stacey, who's the OGs now? Look at the NBA now. You remember when you played, somebody put their hand on your neck and helped you and guided you those first couple of years in the league. I look at just our team, and I kind of look in the locker room. I'm like, okay, who's the one that would actually take Johnny Davis off to the side and help him? It's probably Taj Gibson, as you guys know. Taj is one of those vets. He's 37. He doesn't play much, though. But it's kind of like where this NBA is now, where it's like, where's the mentorship? And it's not just some guy that's sitting on the back end of the bench that knows where all the great restaurants are on the road. No, this is somebody that's actually playing 30-plus minutes, that when they sit down and that rookie's sitting there, they're kind of educating them on what's happening out there. And that's the part of the NBA where I would love to see them get back to, is mentorship from players that are actually really, really good, maybe franchise guys, second-level guys that help these rookies come into the NBA.
Yeah, Chris, we got that with DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan has done a great job with Patrick Williams and Ayo Dosunmu, taking them under his wing, teaching them, how to prepare outside of what the coaches are doing. Because as you know, when I came in this league, I had guys that are already 35, 36, Bill Cartwrights, the John Paxsons. These guys, Charles Davis, these guys were older guys when me and BJ came in. So we had mentorships that were still playing. These guys were still starting. So they showed us, what to eat, how to rest, how to prepare for games, how to study film, how to study the scouting report. And sometimes I think when you look at some of these teams, it's like when I watch it on a nightly basis, like I know the scouting report on every player in the league. And then you look at, some players that are playing, and it's like, how did you not know that that's his strong move? Yeah. How did you know that's not what he wants to do? And I'm like, I'm 55 years old. I'm like, I'm studying this, and I know what he's doing. So you have to put the work in. These young players have to learn how to put the work in, and because you're not always going to be told what to do. You got to be, self-active. You got to be self-motivated. And sometimes you got to do extra work on your own and not wait for someone to show you how to do everything.
Hey, Chris, I know that you developed a really good friendship with John Wall during his time in D.C. You guys were much more than reporter-player. You guys are actually good friends. And our buddy Tim Kelley, you got that photo?
I don't know. Do they have that?
Do you have the photo? I don't know if he can see it on his feed, but he got a chance to pose for a picture with John before a game. Was that? Tell him the story.
Yeah.
Tell
and then I knew Chris was the guy for the job because he passionately defended him with Colin Cowherd criticism a couple of years back, and I think at the end of that bit you said, "That's enough of that crap" or something like that, which was great because you don't see that often. And that's when you see that defense of a player that you're basically representing out there. That's passion.
Yeah, I remember that. There's this fine balance, I think, with covering a team and being balanced, being fair, but not being a homer. When John had bad games, I'd be like, "You stunk tonight," but there was a respect there where he knew that I knew he could play better. But when things kind of went off the rails with people talking about players and their personal lives, I just feel like that's off limits, unless it's affecting him playing. But I just felt like that was we were just doing a little bit too much talking about players. But yeah, he's still, to me, one of my favorite players, guys. And I'll tell you why. I remember when he came into the league, he was by far the number one overall pick in that draft. I don't care what Evan Turner said. Love you, Evan. You weren't the number one pick in the Big Ten class. Right? But John was one of the more humble kids I had ever come across. And I covered LeBron James. I've covered a lot of kids that were, supernovas getting ready to come into the NBA, but there was just something about him where he was just really a cool young man, humble, fast as hell with the ball. And, 10 years later, I covered every step of the way for him. And obviously when he got traded, it was an emotional night because I had to do my job. Mark, when you know how it is when a guy gets traded, you got to do the pros and the cons, why it works, why it doesn't work. But at that time, I literally went on the air and said it made sense for both parties to move on because I think John had kind of worn out his welcome. Management ownership was done with him. And it was kind of like, okay, well, it's a mutual, parting of the ways. But I am so happy for him to get this comeback with the Clippers. And he said the other day, Mark, that he has a date circled. And I have the same date circled. It's December the 10th when he comes back to D.C. For the first time with fans. He came back, when he was with Houston during COVID. But this will be the first time that he'll be greeted at Capital One Arena with the hometown faithful. And we all expect he'll get a standing ovation.
That's great.
Yeah, I expect him. I expect to get a standing ovation because they love him. I mean, he does great work in the community. He's a great kid. I mean, he's like you said, very humble, and just an awesome talent. It's a shame, when you look at all the injuries that he's had to come by, and then how people turned on him. It's the same thing that Derrick Rose felt in Chicago.
That's right.
Like, you win MVP, you put a team on your back and carry them by yourself, and then all of a sudden you get a couple of injuries that you can't do anything about. It wasn't like you walked out there. Yeah, it's not like you walked out there and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to tear my ACL up today. No one does that. Right. And then to have people turn on these kids and act like they don't care. No, you could play with a torn ACL. Come on, man. Really?
Well, so it's very sad to see that. I think people kind of forget that they're actually human beings. I think sometimes, and I'm not going to speak for all fan bases, but I do feel like that some of these fans look at these athletes like they're their property, or like, how dare you miss time? Like no, they're human too. They put their pants on just like you do, except they dribble a basketball. Okay, some of these fans I think sometimes get it really twisted, Stacey, about you don't think Derrick Rose tried to go out there? He might have went out there not even 50% because he loved the game so much and competed. He reminded me of John in that way of just playing hurt. There were so many times where people didn't realize that John had a bone spur in his heel. That was probably about like that. He showed it to me when they took it out of his foot. He showed it to me what it looked like. And I was like, you played with that? He says, I've been playing with that for years. No one knew it. No one knows what it took for me to go out and compete every night. And this guy would be getting 20 and 10 a night with a bone spur. And so I think that's another reason why I just really kind of respected the hell out of him and still do to this day, of just how much he went through just to get out on the floor.
Hey, last thing for me, Chris. I know you got a son who's in the broadcasting business. He's working in Denver, doing some great stuff there. You got another son who's a scholarship athlete in college. And maybe talk about being a proud dad.
Well, my son, Mark, you'll love this. I did not want him to get into broadcasting.
I know the feeling. I told my son the same thing.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Have I not come home every night going, can you believe this happened or that happened? And my wife used to tell me, she'd be like, he would sit there and just watch you during your sportscast. I'm like, first of all, what teenager or what adolescent would sit at home watching the 6:30 sportscast?
Right.
But I really didn't have any idea. He told me he wanted to be a corporate lawyer, and then he goes to college, he plays basketball, and once he graduated, I was like, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, I think I want to get into sports. I think I want to be a sports broadcaster. So he actually applied at Comcast in DC where I worked without me knowing about it. A buddy of mine was like, hey, your son, I think, applied for an internship here. And I was like, he did what? I'm driving home and I'm thinking, do I yell at him or do I kind of like tip my hat to him? Because that's, for him to do that, he knows like, oh, you're Chris Miller's son. He knew going in, people would kind of judge him on it and he could have cared less. So he does the internship. About a year and a half passes. He sends tapes out. He doesn't get a job. All of a sudden, he gets an offer in Pasco, Washington. nobody knows where that is. Central part of Washington State.
Yeah.
So he flies out there and gets his career started, works there for 2 years. And then Mark, he got his big break. Last year, he got a job in Denver.
Yeah.
His first assignment was covering the Stanley Cup final, Mark. I mean,
How
can you
about
believe
that?
this?
Yeah.
First gig, really? Is that what we're doing? And I can't be more proud of him. No matter me getting my dream job or the things that I've covered in my career, there was nothing that made me more proud
Sure.
than to watch his first sportscast in Pasco, Washington, and then that first sportscast in Denver.
Yeah.
And my wife, and she's like, "You're a basket case." I'm like, Mark, you know how hard this business is. And for him to start where he started and now to be in a really good market in Denver, I couldn't be more proud of him.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
Whispers, you got anything else before we let Chris go?
Nope, I couldn't find any dirt on him. Darn
Oh,
it.
come on. You usually come up with something on all of our guests.
Not even a club up in San Francisco.
Oh,
Nothing.
no.
All right,
Nothing.
I will give you one thing though, Mark.
right.
You mentioned that we connected, during that playoff series between the Wizards and the Bulls, which, by the way, the Wizards won in 5.
That's right.
I will say this: I actually predicted that because if you remember, that Bulls team came in walking wounded.
Yeah.
Remember, Butler was hurt. I don't think Rose played. Joakim Noah. A lot of stuff was going on with that Bulls team. I totally saw that coming. And I said it, and I'll never forget, I was on Chicago radio. Some of the people were looking at me like I had 3 heads. And when the Wizards won those 2 games at the United Center to start that series, I was like, it's over. It's over. It's over.
And it was over very quickly, unfortunately. Hey, Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. Continued success with your play-by-play duties for the Washington Wizards. As I mentioned at the top, one of the real good guys in the business. We really appreciate you joining us. Yeah, keep up the good
I'll
work.
see you next week.
That's right.
Yeah, next week. Next week.
Yeah.
Let's pick it up the check.
Hey, you making all the money down there.
Yeah, Bulls and Wizards at the United Center on Wednesday. Washington won the first meeting, so maybe a little payback coming up on next Wednesday. Chris, thanks a lot. Best of luck. Give our best to your boys, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
You got it, guys. Thanks so much. Have a great night.
That is Chris Miller, our special guest on Gimme the Hot Sauce. We'll talk a little football when we roll on. Really enjoyed our visit with Chris Miller, and he's excited about receiving some of Stacey's signature hot sauce. And you never know who's going to come by the studio. Christopher Walken is also a big fan of hot sauce. Chris, what's going on, my friend?
Hi, nice to see you, Mark. It's good to be here. And one of the things that we haven't talked about, it's the holidays.
That's right.
One
Got to
of my
get that
favorite
special
time of year.
gift.
That's right. And so I always recommend, what else? Stacey King's hot sauce. There's 4 wonderful flavors. What's your favorite, Mark? I mean, we just heard from Chris. He doesn't want anything too hot.
I like the barbecue sauce. It's great on everything.
That's true, but it says fish. I don't understand that.
Barbecue sauce on fish?
Yeah, it's in the description. That caught me off guard, but then I tried it with some fish sticks. Wow.
Breaking the budget.
God.
Christopher Walken eating fish sticks. That's stuff that I wouldn't
No kidding.
really visualize.
Do they even have fish sticks anymore?
That's why I look like that at the airport. So go to GimmeTheHotSauce.com and use code KING21. Get 21% off. And get some gifts going, will you?
Will you?
Will you? I mean,
More cowbell.
more cowbell.
Yeah.
I got a fever, and only the hot sauce can cure it.
Always appreciate Christopher Walken stopping by, sharing his love of hot sauce. Hey, the Packers play the Bears on Sunday, 4-8 against, 3-9? Is that the records coming in? It's miserable. The one bit of news on Thursday is that Justin Fields was a full participant in practice. Aaron Rodgers has already said he's going to play. So, Stacey, we might have that game of Justin Fields against Aaron Rodgers, which probably neither one of those guys should be playing at this point. What do you think?
Oh man, if I was the Packers, I'd just go ahead and pack it in and just play Jordan Love. You're not going to make the playoffs. There's a slim chance, but you're not going to make the playoffs. And let's see what you got in Jordan Love. I mean, they're still going to have to pay Aaron Rodgers. I think he's got guaranteed like 50-some million next season, so it's going to be hard to cut him. It's going to be hard to trade him. So, but just sit him out, man, because to me, it just seems like Aaron Rodgers' heart's not into this season. I don't know about how you look at him, Mark, but it just doesn't seem like he's having fun, nor is he interested in playing.
Yeah, he's grown very philosophical in his media appearances. Like he's almost setting the table for him to retire, but he's got so much money on the table. I don't think he can leave that there.
Yeah, his legacy's in jeopardy.
Ah, what nicely done.
Oh, did you like that?
Yeah,
Just like whispers.
what did you do with Walken? You got rid of him? Whispers. You never know what you're going to get with whispers, that's for sure. So the Bears are in a situation now, Stacey, if the draft was held now, they'd get the second pick in the draft. But they have their quarterback in Justin Fields. You know, you could always take a defensive lineman and offensive tackle, but you think they'd be better off when the draft rolls around to trade back and get multiple picks? Because they have a lot of needs, especially on that defensive side.
Yeah, that's what I would do, Mark. I mean, unless there's a serious game changer like a Deion Sanders or, Randy Moss, which there's not, I definitely would try to move down, trade that pick, try to get multiple picks, move down, try to scoop up as many talented players as you can. Because we all know the first round is not really where the draft starts.
Right.
It's like that it starts like that third and fourth round is when you get the Hall of Famers and the guys are going to be the staple of your team, your roster. Not saying the first round you can't get a guy like, Dan Marino or something like that, John Elway. I mean, that can happen. But the draft, we all know, normally starts about the third or fourth round.
Yeah, and the Bears really need an impact wide receiver. If Marvin Harrison Jr. was in this draft, he would be a top 5 pick, but he's only a sophomore, so he's not eligible for the draft. They'll find somebody, and they also have a ton of money to spend in free agency. So the arrow is pointing up for the Bears, while Green Bay, with Rodgers starting to decline, their arrow is pointing down. Let's talk some college football, and coming up on Sunday, we'll get the matchup for the college football playoff. It looks like it's going to be set with USC moving into the top 4 after Ohio State got destroyed by Michigan on Saturday. What do you think about?
Wow!
What do you think about USC? You think USC is dangerous with Caleb Williams at quarterback?
Yeah, they're going to beat Utah. They're going to beat Utah. They should have beat them the first time. They're undefeated right now. This wouldn't even be a discussion. USC is the best team out of the West, and they're going to probably end up playing in the national, semifinal game and have a chance to play for a national championship. Their offense, Mark, the problem is they can score with anybody in the country. Yeah. If you want to go, bullet for bullet, Lincoln Riley and USC can score with anybody in the country. But where they're going to get beat is their defense. As many points as they score, they're liable to give them that much more. And that's a problem. They can't stop anybody. And, they run up against a Georgia team that can also put up 35, 40 points, in a shootout. It's going to come down to who gets the final stop. And I'm putting my money on Georgia to get that final stop. If it was, a place for who's going to win the game, I'm going with Georgia. But I tell you what, I would not, after watching what Michigan did to Ohio State, walking into, they're, on the road, going into a hostile environment. If you would have told me that they were going to shellac Ohio State like that, I would have said, no way. Yeah. No freaking way. Ohio State at home is just almost impossible to beat. And with all the tradition and everything that comes along with the two in the rivalry, you did not expect what we saw Michigan do. Michigan, and understand how good Michigan actually is. Their starting running back was out with a knee injury. Their second running back's got a broken hand. And he played. He had that big run at the end. But they, for 3 quarters, Mark, they had probably 9 yards rushing. So they were forcing Michigan to throw the ball. And that kid, the game was changed when the quarterback McCarthy threw those 2 bombs, 60-plus yard bombs. And I think Ohio State was caught completely off guard because they didn't think the kid could throw. They didn't think they had an offense that could go vertical. And those 2 bombs were backbreakers. I mean, Ohio State was never the same after that.
Yeah, J.J. McCarthy is from the Chicago area, played at Nazareth Academy. So this is a guy who can throw the ball, and Harbaugh was just basically holding some of those plays back, just saving them for Ohio State. And I've told this story before that my son is a graduate of Michigan. My daughter is a graduate of Ohio State. So no matter what happens, one of them is going to be happy, one of them is going to be miserable. So I tried to send Brooke a text saying, it's all right. And then I saw – this person has turned off their notifications, so she wasn't going to have it. Going to hear any of that from her friends about what happened to Ohio State. That's
Speaking of the lovely Brooke, for Thanksgiving she made a string bean salad, the string bean casserole that the Whispers
is delicious.
About.
Was it delicious?
Yeah.
I'm glad everyone enjoyed it.
What Stacey was saying, I should have taken a picture and sent it to you, so you could enjoy it vicariously.
Maybe bring me a sample so I can really see what it's supposed to be like. Maybe I just been missing out.
All that trash talking you talk, Okay, Brooke heard about it.
That's
and
right.
She said, "Oh, you know what? I'm not going to be deterred by making my green bean casserole. I'm going to do it again." And she did it again. Congratulations to Brooke.
It was delicious, Tim. You would have enjoyed it.
Yeah,
well, hers is clearly better than everyone else's.
Clearly better. There's no
I'll
question
have to
about
try
it.
it. Just like how Stacey's cranberry jello is better than everyone else's.
Is that right?
Whose? What?
Yours? It's another awful dish.
Hey, first of all, he's lying. I don't have a cranberry jello. He's lying. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have my mother made this jello. It's not a cranberry jello, but it's a fruit salad jello. This is awesome. Like she can use Miracle Whip.
Oh, the Hawaiian one?
Like mandarin oranges.
Awful.
And
what does that have to do with
you never ate it.
How many Hawaiians were at Thanksgiving? I don't get it.
How many Hawaiians?
Wow.
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 Whispers.
See, the other sponsor left. But this jello, this fruit salad my mom makes is awesome. It's jello, it's whipped cream, it's all the kind of fruit you want to put in there, and it's stirred up, and then you leave it in overnight, and it comes out congealed, and it's like, oh, it's awesome. I do make that. That is awesome. It's a hit at all holiday parties. Tim's never been invited to my house on the holidays. Since he didn't invite me, other than when he wants me to work, I definitely don't invite him to my house.
Well, Stacey's been busy on the road. You put out a couple of videos. One was about some of your great friends that you got a chance to work with and run into in Oklahoma City. And then you had the video of the Hangover crew. And I saw some young Tim Kelley, and it was pretty scary stuff.
Yes.
Oh, no.
I did not
see this.
Hey, Mark,
Mark, boy.
That was a cry for help. That video was a cry for help. That was like I'm sending a message to all my friends.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we need to get together. We don't call enough. We don't talk.
Yeah.
So I put a little sympathetic. I wish we had it. So I wish our crackpot crew behind us could put that on there so people can see what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But because we don't hang out. See, when you get older, you tend to take for granted your friendship. I see Tim all the time, so it doesn't count. But like the rest of the guys, Clay Cooper, Bob Morrison, Chris. I saw Chris Guy. He came to the show a week ago.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's the first time we've seen him. Like it was like, where's Waldo? That's the first time I've seen him in like 2 or 3 years. Like we're not doing things like we used to.
He's out driving past high schools throwing quarters out. That's where he's spending his time.
Wow. This man is a respectable dentist.
Just like whispers.
You just never know what Tim's going to say, man.
Hey, what's his nickname?
So that video was more of a cry for help from my friends who I consider my ride or die friends.
That's right.
And I was hoping each one of them would see it and go, yeah, Stacey's right. We need to start doing more things together.
And did anybody respond?
No.
I haven't seen this video.
The power of social media.
That tells you. You didn't see it, Tim?
No.
Yeah, you got to check it out. 2 really good videos.
Great. Singing and dancing, huh?
No, it touches the heartstrings.
No. It's pictures of us throughout the years, hanging out, doing things, playing golf, all kind of stuff. I got to put it together, Tim. See, Tim, that's you. You know what? You're not a true friend, okay? You're not a part of the Hangover crew anymore. Okay?
I got pink slipped again.
I'm putting new members in the Hangover crew. All you guys are out. You've all been revoked because you don't follow up. You don't do anything with us anymore. We used to go on trips to Vegas.
Yeah. We
guide trips. We had some fun. I used to have a lot of fun. But everybody
Mark, you just went from 17 back to 3 again.
There you go. Hey, who can be part of the Hangover crew is your buddy from Windy City Limousine, Mike. When I showed up at the airport on Thanksgiving night, Stacey's getting out of the limo. Of course, Mike's taking him. I thought maybe the Doubleman twins were in there too, but they weren't. So I was a little bit disappointed. But Stacey, tell the folks how they can get a hold of the best service limousine-wise.
Oh, okay. Hey, Windy City Limousine provides championship service. Making a reservation is so easy; it's a slam dunk. Let Windy City break the full court pressure of traffic and get you to your destination in style and on time. Contact us at 847-916-9300. That's 847-916-9300. And tell them Timmy Whisper sent you.
Ask for Mike, one of the great guys, too.
Mike, if you wait, listen, America, ask for Mike Amaroff to drive you. Okay,
yeah.
So when you call Windy City, and you get a limousine, you get a SUV or whatever, make sure you ask for Mike Amaroff, Stacey King's personal driver.
Yeah, hopefully he's listening to the show right now. Hey, one of your friends that we got a chance to meet last week, I got a chance to meet, was Andy, Chief Little Legs.
Chief Little Legs.
and what a great guy. Really engaging. I enjoyed talking to him. But why don't you tell folks how they can take advantage of his service? And I'm not sure about that first sentence in the copy.
Yeah, it's been rewritten.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Whisper.
It's a little more right to the point.
All right, go ahead.
There's some nasty shite in this Chicago water. That's why we only drink Angel water here in the Hot Sauce Studios. Stay hydrated all year long with water you can trust. Angel water. Call 847-382-7800 to get your water tested.
Stacey's
for
on
free.
antibiotics. You gotta liven this up a little bit.
Remember when Andy said because of Stacey, he's actually came in to get a refund?
Yeah.
That's what.
Why don't you give the phone number again for people that want to take advantage?
847-382-7800 for a free water test today. And I appreciate what he was talking about last week when he said it's not about just healthy water; it's about getting the toxins out of your water.
Exactly.
You got to think about it that way.
So was Andy part of the Hangover crew or no?
Here and there, but not part of the core.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was part of the basketball group that you.
He's a guy. He's a guy, Mark, that we give a patch to. That he's on a make good offer. Like so, him and Rich. Even though Rich was in the video, Rich is still like we don't know if we really want to bring him in the Hangover.
Frank Farmer and Chief Little Legs are rotators.
Okay.
They're rotators. Yeah, they're on the second group, man. Second group. They might have to go down to the G League and get some reps in.
They come off the bench.
Hey, big event starts on Sunday in San Diego. Baseball's winter meetings, and here in Chicago, it's getting really cold, and baseball fans want to be livened up by some good news. The Cubs supposedly have money to spend. They've done nothing yet. The White Sox, they lose Jose Abreu. He's going to the Houston Astros, coming off a World Series championship, and they bring in Mike Clevenger, who was a really good pitcher in Cleveland, not so good in San Diego. Stacey, what do you think about Abreu going to the Astros?
I was really shocked by that. Wake up, see it. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, did they trade him? Did they get something? He signed as a free agent. I can understand, Mark, what they're thinking. He's older. His numbers were down. His power numbers are down. Sometimes those players, they need to change the scenery. This guy could very easily, next year hit 36 home runs. And then everybody's like, why'd they let him go? Why'd they let him go? Schwarber. You saw Schwarber have an impact on, Philadelphia making the World Series. All these players that leave Chicago, Rizzo. Rizzo still should be a first baseman for the Cubs.
Right.
He's very productive. And as long as you got a DH, these guys are going to be viable for a long time. Albert Pujols was how old, 40-something, and was really productive as a DH. So these guys still, you have to factor into those when you're trying to decide how much good baseball a player has. He's 30. I don't know what Abreu was, 34, 35?
35. Yeah, it'll be 36 before he starts next season.
So then you got to say, okay, how many years does he have that he can? Because he's a good first baseman.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's terrible first baseman and a good hitter. He's a complete player. His power numbers have went down. RBIs, home runs. That could be attributed to a lot of different things. He might have been hurt last year and we didn't know. It's hard to judge a player. Only the people on the inside knows what really was going on with them. But the guy is still capable of hitting 30 home runs and driving in over 100. So those kind of guys are hard to find in baseball.
Yeah, one thing that I hope we hear over the next week when they're meeting down in San Diego is that a friend of the show, Carlos Correa, signs with the Cubs. That would be great. Get an impact shortstop on the north
That would
side.
get people excited.
Yeah. And he'll come on the show again to talk all about it. It'd be great.
Yeah, I won't call him Alex this time.
Wow. But wouldn't it be crazy if he went to the White Sox?
No, he's not going to go there. They don't have enough money to bring him in.
You never know. They could scrap some up. They can scrap some money up, baby. Hey, listen. At the end of the day, who's closest to a World Series? The White Sox are.
Well, the White Sox are closer. Yeah, no question.
Yeah. So what is it going to take for that team to, because the last 2 years they're supposed to be the best team in baseball and they fell short.
Yeah.
So what is going on? Like, what is it? Is it the pitching? What is it that's keeping this team from reaching its potential that everybody thinks they are? So if you're close, Mark, if you're close as they are, and you know how hard it is to win a world championship in baseball, do you go for it? Do you say, well, let's just blow it up and go back through the minors and see league system. Da 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 da. Is Abreu the first domino that falls, and then you're starting to think about blowing it up?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, a new manager, Pedro Grifol. We'll see what he can do. He was in the division with Kansas City, and they'll bring in some new players. But the problem with the White Sox mostly the last couple of years, just massive injuries. They've got to keep guys healthy if they're going to reach the potential everybody sees. Stacey, I know you've been under the weather, so you've probably been watching some TV. You got any recommendations for the folks before we say goodbye?
Oh man, I'm watching Yellowstone, man.
Yeah.
Watching Yellowstone.
Did you catch up?
And I'm caught up now, baby.
Yeah, I've been watching.
Caught up. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. Yellowstone is one of the best shows out there right now. America. If you haven't watched Yellowstone, please do. It is awesome.
And that Beth Jamie thing is off the hook now. It's just going to get worse and worse.
Hey,
someone's gonna die.
You're right. Somebody is gonna die because he tried to run her over
when
he kicked her out. Got out of the car. He tried to run her over after she found out that he had a baby.
Yeah.
And she goes, "You had a baby. You had a son. You of all people. God bless you." And she's still mad about it.
Yeah.
She's talking about kidnapping his kid.
Yeah.
I'm taking that baby for you. You don't deserve it.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, bet.
And if you haven't watched episode 4, we apologize for spoiling.
Hey, listen, America, listen. It comes on every week, okay? If you behind, that's your own damn fault, America.
Hey, Stacey.
Okay, we are spoiler alerts here.
D is shaking his head. He's upset. He was going to watch it.
You know what? First of all, D doesn't even have Paramount. Okay?
Yes, I do.
He doesn't have it, so you don't have to worry about that,
Paramount.
right? You don't have Paramount.
I have Paramount.
You don't have Paramount.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No,
I
you're a
watched half of
student.
it.
You're a student. You don't have it.
I have the student deal, man. I have a student deal.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This guy here.
Come
You know
on,
what?
now. You
I
don't-
can't
you don't
see
do
you
me like
guys.
that.
I will be in the studio next week.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be a lot of people getting throat punched. All right, I'm just
I haven't
gonna throw
done
that right out
anything.
there. Okay, there's gonna be a lot of throat punches handed out when I come back next Thursday show. Okay, so just watch your neck. Do some neck ups. Get them strong.
That's
do some
unfair.
head ups.
That is not fair.
Yeah, with Stacey here in studio, we're going to have a special announcement next week. So we will share that with our audience next week. That's just a little bit teaser.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a teaser. That's what we call a teaser in the media field.
Yeah.
Not a spoiler.
Listen, Mark. I thought you were gonna say, the teaser was Tim in a thong. Oh Lord.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
And he's all red. He's Larry Lobster with a thong on. I thought that was the announcement.
All right, well, that's in March.
Timmy
We're going to do
Wentworth
that.
in a thong.
It's a few months away,
No.
but that episode's coming.
Oh no.
Oh no, it's not.
That's like page 72 of the Montana magazine.
We got to break
Yeah, watch
10,000
out for that.
subscribers.
Hey, listen, the lady, the Rotary Club of Montana, they called me and they said they want to do another photo shoot.
There you go.
I said, okay, I'm there. Yeah.
After watching Yellowstone, we can only imagine you on a horse. Yeah.
I'm gonna be out there. I'm gonna be out there with some grizzly bears, and I'm gonna be out. I'm gonna have some Uggs on with furry boots.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be naked, and
Just
I'll
like
be out there with
Putin.
grizzly bears.
And by the way, that's not the special announcement I was referencing. Stacey,
Oh my God.
hey, rest those vocal cords. Bulls fans, we want to remind you that tomorrow's game, Friday's game against Golden State, is a national telecast on ESPN. So Stacey and Adam get to rest their vocal cords, but they'll be back Sunday for the 5 o'clock start against the Sacramento Kings. Right, Stace?
But guess what, America? Guess what?
What?
I'll be on Instagram Live, baby.
There you go.
I might be broadcasting the game from Instagram Live, baby. Allah.
So make sure you check that out. Stacey, get some rest. Enjoy San Francisco. We look forward to seeing you in studio next Thursday. I want to thank the Sriracha crew. I want to thank our special guest, Chris Miller. I want to thank everybody who participated in the live chat on YouTube. You guys are crazy. You're nuts. They're fighting each other. It's fun to watch. So we appreciate each and every one of you. And Stacey, got some advice for the folks as we say goodnight?
Yeah, make sure you send Tim some batteries, D batteries for that electric shirt he's wearing, because it runs on batteries. Okay, he needs as many batteries as you can send him. All right, send them to the Sriracha Studios.
And some aloe vera for the burns.
I'm choked up.
Uh-oh.
I'm choked.
Elizabeth is coming to join you.
Elizabeth.
Oh, boy.
America.
That's good.
America.
You cough it all out. You're getting better.
America.
Did somebody hit the screen?
I'm going down. I'm going.
If
I'm gonna hit the screen.
If Stacey could talk, he would say, "Drive home safely."
Drive home safely, Chicago. BP.
So long, everybody.
Give me the hot sauce, Bill. Give me the hot sauce. What are you doing, Dragic? Did you not get the memo? Derrick Rose can go upstairs. Let me step back and kiss myself. MVP time. Windy City Assassin does it again.